There's a storm across the valley. The clouds are rolling in. The afternoon is heavy on your shoulders. There's a truck out on the 4-lane, a mile or more away. The whining of his wheels just makes it colder.
Welcome to Community Forum. Wednesday, October 28th, 2020. And because of COVID, we are doing a Zoom interview with Cory Ahonen, who has just been promoted to Deputy Director of Health and Community Services. And in that job, he is continuing to be Easton's Veterans Agent. He's also now being an outreach coordinator with Ann Daly, a recreational agent, and the Senior Tax Relief Program he's taken over. So we have much to talk about. So welcome. And my name is Priscilla Almquist-Olsen, your host. And welcome, Cory.
Thank you, Priscilla. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. This is our second interview, but I think it's been so long. Why don't you give the viewers a very brief history of your history?
Okay. So my history, I grew up on the Cape in Sandwich. And after high school, I joined the Air Force, and I was a security forces member, which is similar to military police. I was on active duty with the Air Force for just under 8 years, and traveled to different countries and a lot of different states within the United States, and got to get some good experiences in law enforcement, security, and just working with people in general. And when I returned home after my service, I went back to school at Bridgewater State University. I went to school for psychology and my bachelor's, and then I earned a master's in public administration right after that. So kind of just led me to a nice segue, crossroads of the psychology and public administration in, serving the needs of our residents and veterans in particular is what kind of got me with my start in the town. And as you said, now it's evolved to assisting anybody who needs help with pretty much anything. I'll start the ball rolling at least. And I don't make no claims of solving everyone's problems, but I'll at least help you find a resource that might be able to help.
Right. Well, you are very resourceful anyway. So
thank you.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about veterans programs currently and the challenges that you face during these COVID times.
Yes. So, I have not, I go to my office, but it's not open to the public as it's co-located with the Council on Aging, Recreation, and, it's not safe to open right now. We've determined based off of guidance that's come down from federal and state agencies. And anyway, so I have not operated out of my office for quite some time now. I think initially it was 2 weeks, and here we are, and it's been closing in on 8 months, 9 months. So that's a challenge, but I would say within the first month or so, I was able to kind of, we just kind of figure out ways to work around those roadblocks, and we've got ways to get electronic signatures. I'm accessible by email, cell phone, text message. My calls from my office are being forwarded to my cell phone. So it's really the same level of service is being provided. The only problem is, there's no way to really get around this. You can't just pop into my office to say hi and get a cup of coffee, and that's unfortunately that's a service that cannot be provided right now remotely. So the biggest challenges I've been hearing, initially it was how do we get groceries from the grocery store, because is it safe to go to the grocery store this earlier on, back in March and early April. I think a lot of seniors without the accessibility to apps like Instacart or these delivery services. I think getting comfortable with those types of things. So that was part of, for those who have the financial means, I would kind of help guide them along to what resources are out there. And for those who need financial assistance, we'd cross that bridge as well. I got a lot of donations of gift cards to grocery stores and things like that, and worked with, in conjunction with the food pantry and this program, Food for Vets, where they basically provide a contactless delivery. You pop your trunk, they put a box in the back of your trunk. It's got 2 weeks worth of food for 2 people inside that box. So that was coordinated, and so those are the biggest problems we were facing in the beginning. And now, most recently, the moratorium on evictions and foreclosures, that has expired. So now there's there will be new resources out to help people who are facing eviction or facing foreclosures. And ultimately I'll be in touch with those folks if they reach out to me, and we'll kind of just explore those options, because they're changing all the time, week by week. So right now, that's currently the main issue. I mean, a lot of people, if you were on unemployment in March, you're likely have run out of benefits by now. So I've had some calls about our different programs that we offer. Chapter 115, which is a financial needs-based program that a lot of folks have become eligible for once those benefits drop off. So it's really kind of gone from those struggles and stressful situations, I guess, for others, and to just day-to-day things that people want to take care of. So
are there certain qualifications for a veteran to be able to access your services?
No. So to access my services, there are no qualifications. You even don't even need to be a veteran at this point, because of the way my position is now designed. It's for any and all community members who are underserved or in need, or so really anybody can call me to start. But what happens is, I am limited by what the state and federal guidelines are, or nonprofits that I work with, I'm limited by what their guidelines are. So if I use my my resources, and you have an issue, I can only refer you to what you're eligible for under their guidelines. But everyone is eligible to come speak with me and at least get, I can kind of just do an overview of what's out there for them.
Okay, so in that regard, what is your telephone number?
Phone number, and I will give my cell phone number. It's a work cell phone number. It's my direct line. It is 774-273-1991. And
okay, well, that's really nice of you. You might get contacted in the middle of the night sometimes.
Yeah, so I'll tell you, I'll answer the phone for sure whenever I have it on me. It's usually on me Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. But there are those occasions where, I do need to, if I get a call, I won't ignore the call if it's an emergency, and the types of emergencies that we're seeing, especially now. Before we started the interview here, we were saying how it's, there's a chill in the air today. I think a lot of people have probably kicked on their heating equipment by now, at least to make sure it works. And so we get calls like that where someone is in need of emergency fuel assistance, and we're able to assist them through different resources: Salvation Army, St. Vincent de Paul, and then as far as veterans go, there's other benefits there as well, but with nonprofits and things. But these are benefits that are, you don't have to be a veteran to get assistance. And I mean, I'm referring to, like, you'll get 100 gallons of oil delivered as an emergency bailout, that type of thing. So it's no small gift from these organizations. It's a pretty big deal that they're able to do that. And all I have to do is reach out to my Salvation Army rep, and they say, go ahead, get the oil delivered, and that's it. So
Yeah.
Pretty
Well, now
amazing.
those services are available under your senior tax relief program hat. And also, in addition to fuel assistance, I think you can also get assistance on your electric bill. Is that correct?
Yeah, so there are quite a few, and the programs all kind of, not all, but a lot of them interact with each other. So like if you're eligible for one, then you are automatically eligible for another. You know, such as like if you're on Chapter 115, you do become eligible at that point for the utility bill discount. There's also discounts that are marked from the Xfinity, like cable, internet, things like that. So not just essential utilities, but also these, you know, I mean, cable and internet is a necessity in my opinion, but it's actually, you know, you can live without it. So, but they still offer these benefits. It's pretty nice.
Okay. Could you tell our listeners what our viewers what this chapter 115 is called and what it encompasses?
Definitely. So I am actually, so I can give you the appropriate numbers. I want to pull up the current, the budget's just changed. So I'd like to just pull up the current amounts. So Chapter 115, it's a needs-based program that it basically takes a snapshot of your current financial picture, how much money you have coming in, all sources, how much money you have going out for certain things, not for, obviously not leisure activities, things like that, but necessary items. You know, they take into account your rent, how many dependents you have, if you pay for utilities or if that's included in your rent, how would you pay for property taxes and mortgage or property and homeowners insurance if you're a homeowner. And there's a calculation that goes through, and the town of Easton pays the amount that's calculated, and it's reimbursed at a rate of 75%. So the state reimburses the town 75% of that money when it's approved correctly. So basically, I enter it into a system. It's called VISMIS. It's a Veterans Management Information, and you enter it in, and it gets approved by the state, and then that's when I'm able to issue the check from the town of Easton to provide assistance to veterans and widows or surviving spouses of veterans. And in this context, when I'm talking about a veteran, it's the state, so it's a state program, so it's a state definition of a veteran, which can get it gets a little complicated for certain folks. So if you served on active duty for 90 days during a time of war, you're considered a veteran. If you served on active duty for 100 days during time of peace, then you're considered a veteran at that point. So there is a definition there that we have to meet, and you can find that by looking at the DD 214, the discharge document. And once we've determined, I mean, that's the very first thing that we'll do. I won't even get into the specifics of anyone about their finances and things like that until we've determined if they're a veteran for this program. Now,
tell me, is so Chapter 115 is only available to veterans.
Veterans and surviving spouses of veterans.
Oh, I know, but
oh,
it's
yes.
not available to the general public.
Not available to the general public. I mean, the closest thing that you would see, this is most closely referred to, it's a social welfare program. So it would, it's similar to that type of program. The 200% of the federal poverty level. So for a single individual, you have to have an income of $2,081 per month. That's gross per month to qualify. And a married couple can have a combined income of $2,818 gross per month. In addition to that, a single person needs to have assets at or below $5,000. Now, assets are tricky. Each program, they're like, do they count your house? Do they count your car? They do not count your home. they do count your second vehicle, but most times your second, I mean, unless it's an antique or something that's worth any considerable amount of money, it shouldn't affect you too much. But they count IRAs, stocks, bonds, trusts, anything that can easily be liquidated into assets. So, but other than that, it's your basic liquid assets, bank, money in the bank, things like that. So
now, tell me, I know that you've had some very interesting and interesting situations that come about. Can you tell us some of the situations where you felt that the most satisfying to you, that you did such a great job, that the person receiving the services was so grateful and probably didn't know they were available? Can you recount some of those without mentioning names?
of course, yeah. So I mean, I don't know, I look at it as these resources are out there. My position is to gain an understanding of them and translate it to those who qualify. So when you say, I know, obviously I appreciate it and everything, but you say I do a great job, but it's nice to hear, and I do appreciate that, but I'm just spreading the knowledge that's out there anyway. So but I can recount a few times. There are times where people will go years and not know they're eligible for these benefits. A lot of times it's a surviving spouse that will think, oh, my husband or wife served, but they've long ago passed away and there's no benefits left for that or whatever. They just hadn't thought of it or didn't know about it. A lot of times the people that truly didn't know that these things were out there and they find out and they're able to benefit from them, those folks are usually the most grateful. And it's I get to thank you and obviously I say you're welcome, but you've earned this, you deserve this, and just spread the word, pass it on to the next person, that this program's out there.
Yeah, okay. And as a surviving spouse, a widower, are those services retroactive in term when it's money that's involved?
No, plain answer, no. But we did have a couple of situations where someone was eligible and we were able to prove that they were eligible retroactive. So they were eligible retroactive, but most cases it's that was like a technicality. Basically the person had requested benefits and a certain time period had passed, and but your typical person who says, oh, I just read about this in the Town Crier, or I read about this in your newsletter, I'd like to apply and I've been eligible for the past 20 years, unfortunately they don't retroactively pay you for that, but they do retro it to the day that you begin contact with me.
I see. Okay. And tell us a little bit about the senior tax relief program that you are now in charge of.
Yes. So I am actually in the middle of processing those applications. And, there's an application that goes out there every year. The program runs from November 1st to October 31st. So this new 2020-2021 year is set to begin next week. So what it is I'll start with, it's the senior/veteran tax work-off, right? So there's two categories there. So we'll start with the veteran tax work-off because that is probably the simplest one of the two. So to qualify for the veteran tax work-off, you have to be a veteran under the statute there, the Massachusetts general law definition, which I told you before, the 90 days or 180 days. And to kind of just real quickly, just explain that a little more. If you served on active duty where you went to basic training and then you were sent off to your duty station and, you came back 4 years later, you most likely were on active duty and that's your veteran status. If you say join the National Guard or the Reserve and you leave for training, but then you come back for your weekend drill and you're what they refer to as a weekend warrior, or you do your drill weekends, you may or may not qualify under that definition. It depends if you had active duty service other than training. So that's something I can help people figure out anyway. But if you are a veteran, you don't need to be any certain age. There are no income or asset requirements. I always say, when I explain it to people, I could say, you could be a millionaire and work on the veteran tax work-off program, but of course, you'd have to have the time to do the 125 hours. But so anyway, you can work up to 125 hours and you are credited at the amount of the minimum wage for that period. So important to note, this year, minimum wage, obviously, it would be the minimum wage between November 1st through December 31st. And then there's a new minimum wage amount effective January 1st that will go until October 31st. So the 125 hours, the total amount can vary, but, and I won't even, estimate an amount, but it's somewhere around 1,500 is what most people can expect. But if you work the full 125 hours, and you can, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, do you recall what the amount per hour was between November and December, and then January and October 31st?
Yes, I can get that. I have that information right here. Let's see.
Because I know it's important for some people who have been working since last November, and during COVID, around March, their service probably shrunk a little bit, or shrank a little bit.
Definitely. That's been a huge problem that we've been trying to deal with, and we actually have another potential solution in the works with town council, which could, and I know maybe you might be able to help us with some of the legalese. I don't know, but anyway, so it's kind of trying to work around the way that the article was passed into the town, because it was voted in. It was voted in at town meeting going back. I did research back to the year 2000. So, where there's been little changes made over time, with the amount gets increased or the amount of workers that are available gets increased, and things like that. So let's see. Effective January 1st, 2020, it was $12.75 per hour. And 2021, I'm getting this off the Massachusetts mass.gov website, by the way. 2021 is $13.50. So depending on how you do your hours, if you, to maximize the program, you do no work in November and December and do all your work in January through October. For the average person, that may be difficult. I don't know, but for those who well exceed their hours, that may not be a problem. I don't know, but the way it works is you are assigned. So like the applicants right now that I'm processing will begin work next week, tentatively. And they're subject to criminal background check, Cory, SORI, and driving record check if they're going to be driving or anything like that. And then they are hired on as employees of the town, and they do all the proper paperwork there through payroll and everything like that, because at the end of that year, they do actually receive a check that is for $0, but it's a credit in the amount of hours you work times minimum wage off of your real estate tax bill. So, and you see that in the third and fourth quarter, which will be coming up on that in January. And then April as well. So they sometimes split that disbursement between the two final quarters, but other times it's all in one. It can be done multiple ways. That's done through the assessor's office. I present them with the verified number of hours worked that I track each month when people submit their timesheets. The job placements, I mean, you can be placed doing pretty much any job that is done in the town. The rules are it needs to benefit the residents of the town. And I mean, that's a pretty loose definition that you could make. I mean, we have one gentleman who he goes to the town cemeteries and repairs the gravestones at the town. And that's pretty amazing work that he's doing. And he
I
gets a
know
lot
him.
of hours doing it. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I know. And he goes to my church, the Lutheran church. But I also know his work because a tall stone, monument stone, fell down on my father's grave and my mother's
Oh,
grave, my sister's grave, and he put them at the Pratt Cemetery, and he did a magnificent job, and
wow.
there were three pieces, so it wasn't an easy job, but he's so meticulous, and he's a great guy, and
Yeah.
whatever he does it well.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. And so, you hear me mention excess hours. And I'll take it back around to the senior tax work off in a moment, but the excess hours can go to those applicants who are physically, mentally, or otherwise unable to work. They can assign a proxy to work for them, whether that is a spouse or if that is just someone who has these overflow hours, they get applied to that individual who, with proper medical documentation, is not able to work themselves. So it's very valuable when we get those individuals like that want to, they end up working, 3, 4, 5, almost 500 hours throughout the year.
Wow.
And you think about it, you only need 125 to essentially get someone close to $1,500, roughly $1,500. Don't quote me, because everybody's results may vary based on how many hours they work. But it's amazing. That's such a huge resource that we have. And this year it's been threatened, with the COVID restrictions and people not being able to work. But I am hoping that we've come up with some nice creative ways to combat that if it comes up again. But, obviously we can hope for the best because we have until October 31st, over a year away now, to get these hours in. And I'm hoping that everybody will be able to. But one of the programs that we've implemented for our tax work-off workers is this program. It's called the Friendly Caller Program. And it's not an original idea. It's something that, I've heard a lot of local churches and organizations are doing as well. But for the town, we will be gathering names and phone numbers of, individuals who consent, obviously, to us giving this information to our list of tax work-off personnel. And they'll be placing weekly calls to just check in, say hello, talk about current events or the weather or whatever you like, honestly. And it really will help bridge a lot of that social isolation that's come from this, safer at home guidance. And it'll also help the tax work-off folks get their hours remotely. You can't get much safer than that, communicating over the phone. So these are the types of opportunities that are available through this tax work-off program. And real quick, I want to just discuss the senior requirements. So to be considered, if you're not a veteran and you want to participate in this program, number one, you have to own a home in Easton. You have to have a real estate tax bill in your name. The home, the trust, if it's in a trust, things like that, we kind of cross that bridge. That's an individual, basis. We review the trust and determine who's on the trust and things like that. But so still talk to me if your home is in a trust. We can still see if you're eligible. There is income and age requirements. So the age requirement is 60. So are you 60 or over? If the answer is yes, then you are eligible to apply. You need to include your most recent federal income tax return. So applying for this year, your most recent return would be from earned income 2019. It's not what your current year's income is. So keep that in mind. For a household of one, your total gross income annually for 2019 must be at or under $49,960. And then for a household of two, gross household income for 2019 must be less than $67,640. And the application goes into a breakdown of what that income is. If it's money coming in is income. Okay. So any money you're getting deposited, you're getting in exchange for something, anything like that. It's not just earned income. It's, they count Social Security, any money, income is, the true meaning of the word. I know a lot of people will wonder, like, well, is my pension counted as income? Yes, any money that you are being paid on a revolving basis is counted toward this. And then after that application is filled out, we complete the basic forms, the Cory, SORI, driving record, if applicable, and then your payroll forms. And then you are free to conduct your hours up to 125 paid, right? Reimbursed or credited with a real estate tax exemption or abatement. It's not a full exemption, but you're free to get those hours at whatever pace you work out with your direct supervisor. And most likely that means that you set your own schedule. So it's a pretty convenient, you end up learning new things or meeting new people. It's a nice way to earn credit off of your income tax. And the town benefits from it as well, because we get wonderful wonderful workers, and wonderful people that can help us help others. So.
Oh, that's wonderful. I have a question about the home status. I know that there are people who have, who, when they get older, they have a life estate. They take back a life estate in their home and they transfer the home to their children, but take back a life estate. So they are literally the ones who pay the taxes, and they're, so my question is, would that qualify? Or don't
I'm
you
pretty
know?
sure, it's such a case by case thing, because there could be something else that's in play there. So I can't say every single person who's in that situation would qualify. It does sound like they are so if their home's in a trust and they're listed as a trustee, they are eligible.
Okay, well then
Now,
I would think this would be eligible too, because
I believe so. Yeah.
yeah, because they are there. We can reside in the house for a year. I mean, for their lifetime.
Oh yes. Yeah.
Whether that's a year or 10 or 20, whatever. And I know, as a former attorney, I know there were people who wanted to do that so that they could save their home for their kids, for example. Because if they register a life estate 5 years before they're going to need any kind of medical assistance,
Medicare,
like
any of those.
Medicaid, right, Medicaid, or and they avoid a tax lien, or a lien rather, by the nursing home. If they have to go into a nursing home, they avoid that if they have survived 5 hours from the date that life estate is recorded.
5 years.
Yes. So after 5 years, the house is free, and for many people, that's their biggest asset, and they really want to stay in their home, but they also want their children to have the benefit of the sale of the house. So I would think that would qualify as much as a trust, because if it's put in a trust, it's well, I don't know, but that's an interesting question.
Yeah, no, and I think it's our program in the town. So if there are situations where it's not fitting the needs of certain individuals, then that's something that we can address at the town level, at our town meeting, things like that. But no, I mean, I know and that's the responsible thing to do, is to, when you become of that age, you put your home in a trust, you handle your assets properly, and so those things don't become liabilities. So why penalize someone for trying to do something responsible for their family? So I would say that with the intent of this program, I don't think that would be a problem. I will say, however, like, if, you know, in your rare case that you're going to get it with the tax work-off program, but, you know, Chapter 115, I know the state will pick up if there's what they call a divestiture of assets. Like if you're just spending money to qualify for these programs, you don't, you get, it can be picked up on very easily by anyone who has a sense of, you know, how accounting and things like that. But so that's not advised. If you're close to the limit, don't spend the money on, you know, don't go buy yourself a new car so you can qualify for the benefits. But that's not what this, you know, the tax, the situation you're talking about is trying to be financially responsible, and I don't think there's any reason there to look further into that other than, you know, whether the person's listed on the trust and they're still paying all those taxes. Absolutely, they should be reimbursed.
Yeah. Okay. So you are now doing 2 or 3 times the amount of work that you did previously, and I imagine you're getting much more efficient. Or how does it feel? How does it feel?
How does it feel? It feels fine. I mean, you know, I don't know. I mean, I really enjoy the work that I do with the veterans. That's what kind of, I mean, it's the greatest work. There's such an abundance of resources out there for veterans, right? Unfortunately, for the rest of the population, there's not as much out there in the same volume that there is for veterans. So that's been a challenge, you know, but just trying to help people. I mean, how can you not feel good about that? Like, just, you know, and it's my job. I get paid to talk with people and help them identify resources or figure out, you know, ways for them to turn and fix their problems. It feels really good. And it has been extra work, but I don't do it alone. You know, I have the help of the staff of the Health and Community Services Department. You know, Kelly McMorrow, she's manning the phones at the COA and helping, you know, schedule things, and she's been helping a lot with a lot of the emergency calls, and, you know, people kind of wondering you know, the first stop for resources, things like that. She's handled quite a few crisis situations since the beginning of this. You know, I have Lisa O'Hearn, who is my administrative assistant in the Veteran Services Office, and she also runs the transportation out of the COA. She's really just, you know, basically taken over the Chapter 115 program under my, you know, oversight, of course, and my involvement in it still. But you know, so I have had a lot of help, and we've kind of shifted responsibilities a lot. And then, you know, obviously, like I told you before, the other deputy director is Ann Daly. So she's my counterpart. And there's Bruce Henshaw, who's the lead bus driver. So, you know, we all pull our own weight. Like, just because Bruce is the bus driver, you'll catch him in there folding newsletters and preparing them for shipment. He's running to the post office every week for us. And we're all kind of like, you know, rolling up our sleeves and just doing what we need to do. And it's definitely a team effort. And so, you know, while all those folks are not on this interview with me, they're like, you know, we're all behind this work that I'm able to do. So it's pretty amazing.
It really is. And you're out as an outreach coordinator. You're able to answer the questions for those who are not veterans, for resources available to them, like the fuel assistance,
Yes.
the electricity, and all of those programs. Because I know there's also an exemption program for anyone on a poverty level income, I think, for
Yes.
relief.
Yeah, there are quite a few programs. So, and there's also, you know, to that point, there's also veterans programs so there's the tax work-off program, which we already just outlined. In addition to that, there are real estate tax abatements or adjustments that can be made, right? All the way from, you know, for the veterans, the smallest level is $140 for the year is adjusted from the tax amount, all the way up to a full exemption. For the seniors, there are different levels there, you know, and they are very individual. And I not really to get into right now all the specifics of each one, but there's a senior. There are tax abatements for disabled. There's CPA tax relief. There are the circuit breaker program. Let me real quick. So let's see, the circuit breaker.
Well, I know from the assessor's office that if somebody is below a certain income, they can request an exemption from the conservation preservation
Yes.
surcharge. I think the surcharge is still 3%. So for most people, it probably is only $100 plus, something like that, maybe. But it certainly is worth it. But I know a lot of seniors are very pro environment, so they're not going to cancel. They're not going to take advantage of that one. So, but it's available.
Right,
Yeah.
and there's also a full deferral. So if you're over 65, you can defer your taxes until that property's sold or transferred. Now, that's a decision for you and your family to make. Obviously, that's not my first go-to for anybody, but in a lot of cases, it is beneficial to do that. That's it's just an option. So and in addition to all these, the real estate taxes, there are motor vehicle tax abatements and exemptions for certain disabled veterans. There's a lot out there, so it's really best to call me to schedule an appointment, or do your own research and then call me and we kind of will go through together. I pride myself on not necessarily remembering or memorizing everything that's out there, but knowing where to find it, because it changes. Like I said, it's ever changing. And, if I were to memorize all the benefits out there for people, I probably would be missing a lot of new ones that pop up. So, yeah, there's a lot out there.
Now, I have one question
for everybody.
For the senior tax relief program and the veterans relief program. You do that on a rolling basis, I believe. So the sooner one gets the application in, the sooner one has a chance. Because
Yes.
how many slots are there for veterans and how many for non-veterans?
So right now, we currently have, there are open spaces, and it's after the deadline for applying. This year, we are opened a little longer. I'm being a little more lenient because we're late in the game. November 2nd is already Monday. So, but anyway, so there are 20 senior spots and 15 veteran spots. And some of them are interchangeable. So if you have a veteran who is also a senior, right? Because remember, I said the veteran, there are no age or income requirements. But if you happen to meet the requirements for both, you can easily be moved into the other category, opening up a space for another person.
Right.
So yes, so 35 tax work-off workers potentially, and we're not quite full of, all spaces have not been taken as of yet. So feel free to apply. And I have applications. If I could real quick, I put the applications. They're in a plastic Tupperware pickup box outside of the Council on Aging, right by the wheelchair ramp. They can you reach in, grab an envelope, that's your application, fill that out with required documents and return it in the mailbox. That's right there as well. And we will get that process. So
now tell me, how soon are those applications available each year?
So the applications become available in October each year. So you have, about a month. Well, next year will be different. We'll have the application out on or about October 1st is my plan. Just being my, learning year this year with this program, where I'm learning how to facilitate the program myself. I'm doing the best I can, and I made the application available. I think like the second week of October, and I gave folks about 2.5 weeks to get it done and returned. It's a simple application, except there are the documentation that goes along with it that, you know, if you keep good records, should be easy. If you don't, it's a you know, tax return summary page that you need to provide along with one of your most recent real estate tax bills. So yeah.
Great. And hopefully we're getting a vaccine in next spring or early summer, and maybe some of the seniors will get it even earlier because we're in a high risk group. So how do those seniors find out? They just give a call during the year, put it on their calendar and see when the applications are ready so that they can get one. And I'm sure you mail them out too, if necessary.
Yes. So what I do is I mail a letter to the currently enrolled participants. And that letter summarizes where they're at for hours. And, you know, that gives them an idea of how much more they need to get done in the next few weeks. And, you know, this year in particular, it's a little different. I've been in pretty close contact with folks, just trying to help them meet their hours. And, you know, unfortunately, some have not met their hours, and that results in a prorated abatement. So, yes, so I will send a letter out to the current applicants, and we also put it in the coordinator, which is the newsletter from the Council on Aging. It also ends up going in the town crier, and anywhere else that you find your news about town programs. You know, I mean, it runs in the Enterprise and other local newspapers, and we try to get the word out as best as possible.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's on the town website too.
Yes.
Yeah, and you know, that is the town website. I get the town crier. That is fabulous. And
yes.
For those viewers who don't have the town crier, I think you can go online at the Easton town website and sign up. Is that correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
And get notice about, and you can also sign up for notices about the weekly police reports, planning and zoning boards, and the Conservation Commission. You can get all the minutes of the select board, you know, and all the other minutes of all the committees and so forth. That is a wonderful way to keep caught up with what's happening in town. And also, if you see something that you want to support or something you don't want to support, you can act accordingly.
Right. No, that's that documents on demand it's a great resource.
That's the one.
Yeah,
Right.
you can set notifications. So I have it set for select board agendas and meeting minutes and things like that for certain things. So you can just see the latest on those, and it gets emailed directly to you, so you don't even need to go try to dig it up. And real quick, I'd like to just mention a quick plug for the Taxation Aid Committee, which is also another program under my purview there. It's a committee, it's not a program, but it's essentially, it was voted in by the town, presented by the select board, to provide a voluntary donation checkbox on, you know, say for instance, your water bill or your local utility bill of any kind, or your property tax bill, where you can voluntarily donate to this Taxation Aid Committee. And the committee then takes into account certain cases of individuals who are in need of assistance or aid. And the money that is raised from that is put into a separate account and is used to assist them in different ways. The committee is not fully seated yet. I'm taking applications. So if you're interested in, you know, being involved with some of the work that I'm talking about doing, where I'm able to take an individual who's having some financial issues, things like that, and then there's this pot of money, and the committee will decide who is eligible to receive this aid. So if you're interested in that, call me at my number. Again, is 774-273-1991, or you can email me. My email address can be found on the town website, or it is CAHONEN@easton.ma.us. And I mean, there's really no, you can also find that on the available committee, the committee availability section on the town website. And I just wanted to mention that as well. Thanks.
I've learned something. I didn't know there was a checkoff box on utility bills.
Well, it's a new program that the committee has not been seated fully yet. Like I said, we're still doing interviews, and you may not see that box on your bill just yet. But
Okay.
it basically, the town voted in the ability to put that voluntary donation onto, things such as the property tax bill or your excise tax bill. That's the word I was looking for. So
yeah. But now, don't you also have a veterans fund that you have access to, that's purely yours, that people can donate to help veterans?
Yes, the Veterans Discretionary Fund. We accept donations in the form of gift cards, cash, check, really any way that anyone's willing to donate. Any donations are accepted. And the way that's distributed is on a needs basis. And that, interestingly enough, I was able to kind of, so with these definitions of who a veteran is, we obviously have some folks that fall in between the gaps of those definitions, and we still need to help those folks. They're probably some of the ones that need the help the most. Able to fully assist them through this Veterans Discretionary Fund. There's no requirement of certain days or anything like that. If you once wore the uniform, you're considered a veteran by the town of Easton, at least. And that's what we have charge over this discretionary fund, that we have the latitude to make that definition apply to that fund. And I can issue up to $500 prior to select board approval. It is for preservation of your dignity, self-sufficiency, and basically essential life needs, right? So if you need, the example I always use is the veteran who's in the hospital for 30 days and comes home and has no fresh food in their refrigerator. That's a good example. The veteran who, and this is also surviving spouses available as well. The veteran who fuel tank's running low and they need an emergency oil delivery. These are appropriate expenses for those.
Great. And so you don't look into their income status then, just the fact that they're a veteran?
No. So I apologize, I didn't make that clear. It is a needs-based as well. There are no strict definitions as far as assets and income are concerned, but we do look at the fact of, like, if it's appropriate to use. So the Veterans Discretionary Fund, it's kind of uniquely named, so just because it's it's the discretion of us issuing it to those who need it, who are in need, that emergency financial need. So we try, I think it works very nicely the way it's defined and the way that the policy is written. We can use it for a wide variety of things, and we're not really constrained by, this red tape of, that you often see with a lot of these state, federal programs, nonprofits. I mean, rightfully so. It's a lot of money that they're dealing with, but it's nice to be able to get that immediate assistance without having to jump through hoops.
Right. And also, I'm so happy that you discussed that, because our viewers, perhaps those who are fortunate to be privileged and have more than other people, may want to consider that as a gift during the holidays, for example, to send you a check or send you gift cards. Get a gift card when they're shopping for food, for example.
That would be greatly appreciated.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you, Cory. Once again, you have given us a wealth of information, and also your private phone number to call, which I think is wonderful. So people who have questions, who aren't sure about what their status is, whether it is a veteran or non-veteran for any of these programs, please give Cory a call. He is a wonderful, wonderful guy. He's so charitable as a person, and he's so open to listening, and a really good listener. And that's what the town of Easton needs in order to fulfill the services that you provide. So we thank you for all of that, and wish you well. And I want to congratulate you on becoming a married man. And
Thank you.
And he only took 1 week off for a honeymoon. That's how dedicated this man is. How
The
dedicated.
pandemic honeymoon.
Oh, yes, right.
Yeah.
That was a challenge.
Options limited. So no, I appreciate it, Priscilla. And, thanks for having me. And as always, I'm glad to be on. And real quick, I just do want to mention one thing, one last resource, right? So the state offers this 211 hotline number, right? So if anyone has lost their job or has lost income during the pandemic or at risk of becoming homeless, that 211, you're going to want to have that as a resource to try that as well, in addition to the services we offer in the town.
So what's the phone number for that?
211.
Oh, 211. Okay, that's an emergency phone number for people.
Like a hotline. Yep.
Right. Okay, wonderful. Thank you again. So this is Community Forum signing off for today. Hope you have enjoyed this program as much as we've enjoyed producing it. And until next time, stay well and stay safe. Thank you for joining us.